I'm Michael Bain and welcome to Triggered, coming to you of course from the secret hidden bunker in the Rocky Mountains in Dragon House Studio, and brought to you by Midway USA, just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. There was a headline last week that 1 million king penguins are missing, and I want you to know that I had nothing to do with that. I have an alibi. It doesn't taste like chicken. So, today, we're going to be talking about the parable of the little bear and the 3 bowls of porridge, right? One was too hot, one was too cold, one was just right. Only instead of bowls of porridge, we got Mossberg. And this is Mossberg's newest release. It is an MC2SC. I get confused. But this is Mossberg's upgrade of 2 previous pistols to keep them competitive in the itsy-bitsy polymer frame striker-fired high-capacity 9mm pistol market, which is the absolute hottest market in the United States, period, exclamation point. So we're going to talk a little bit about how they got here, but I wanted to go through some of the functions and features on this gun because I really like it a lot. First thing that makes it competitive is this guy is 11 plus 1, 11 in the magazine, 1 in the chamber, or 14 plus 1. So you got a 15-round gun there. It's a double stack magazine. It is cut for an optic. And optics cut has become de rigueur because a lot of people are going to pop this off. By the way, this plate is licensed from Strike Industries, who you may be familiar with, cool company. So you can mount one of the narrow micro red dot sights on it, including, say, I don't know, the Shield, Compact, Sig Romeo Zero, Holosun 507K, Swamp Fox Sentinel. So you can mount that on there. It keeps the great features from the very first gun, the MC1, which is what we're going to talk about a little bit in the second part of the show. It's got great grip panels. These were just super. When the first one came out, lots of reviewers went like, wow, these guys really know how to make a grip that makes sense. And that's because they had a lot of input from George Harris, previously head of the SIG Academy, one of the most knowledgeable trainers in the country. George, a dear friend of mine, but George had a lot of input in the first designs of the gun, and George knows what he's talking about. You got basically a, 3.4-inch barrel. You have 3-dot sights. Some of you like them. Some of you will ink out these back dots. You don't need them, you don't want them. But they also offer as an option, you can get it on the gun or you can buy it as an option, Ameriglow. Night sights are available. You should probably get a set of those. The trigger remains as good as those first triggers. It's got a flat trigger. It obviously has the trigger safety here. You see the trigger safety. Very little take up, crisp. Very little mush in this entire trigger system. It makes it an easy gun to shoot. And when you're dealing with these little 9mm, you want them to be as easy to shoot as possible. And it has a stiff spring in it too. Trigger guard, well thought out. So should you have to shoot this gun in the winter, which is coming up here in Colorado with gloves, you've got room in the trigger guard for that as well. I took it out and shot it today. Shot a bunch of rounds through it, as a matter of fact. Arms core ball, just kind of breaking it in like always. First 3 rounds out of the magazine, it stumbled, and then it settled down. My videographer suggested oil, but hey, not me. Out of the box, run the gun. Let's see what happens here. The thing I noticed about it, too, is it's accurate. As I was shooting on steel, 7-yard steel plate, and I noticed that all the shots were going in the same place, which I think is a really good indicator of the shootability of the gun. Now, the slide is longer and the frame is short. What does that remind you of? It should remind you of my carry gun, my SIG 365, which has an XL long slide, roughly this size slide, and a small butt. Why? Because small butts are easier to conceal. I had to build that gun up, but when I was looking at this, I thought, well, Mossberg built exactly that. When Triggered returns, we're going to talk a little bit about the evolution of this gun and then some other cool stuff. Welcome back to Triggered, where we're looking at the Mossberg MC2SC, their larger capacity mini 9mm. One of the other things they kept from this gun, which is actually really cool, is their takedown system. Typically, you have to pull a trigger to take these little guns down. That's something that started with Glock and has gone forward. This particular system, though, and this is something George mentioned to me when I first worked with the MC1, is that you lock the slide to the rear, and then you got the plate back here. It's a matter of pushing that plate down. You don't have to pull a trigger, you don't have to do anything. The slide's locked to the rear, you push the plate down, and then the striker assembly comes right out. And then you can just control slide right off the front of the gun. Really kind of a neat system, a very safe system. I wanted to show you in comparison with the MC1, which I do actually like a lot. You can see obviously same length slide and same length frame. These frames are the same size as opposed to the MC2, which had a slightly longer frame. The saga of this, as I probably have mentioned to you guys before, is the MC1 had the misfortune to come out against the SIG P365, which was a genuine market shaker, which was a genuine disruptor. So SIG, this first gun, single stack, 6+1, 7+1, clear magazines. I love this gun. But the fact that a 10-round gun in the same size came out, and actually weighed a little less, essentially took the shine off Mossberg's MC1. Mossberg came out with the MC2, which had a little bit longer frame, a little bit longer slide, and then had, let's see, what was that? It had much more, 13+1 and 15+1 in the magazine, but it was a bigger gun. So once again, back to the drawing table to produce this MC2. You can see the frames are the same size. And I was going to show you here, what's the difference? There's a difference in width between the single stack and the double stack. But honestly, you won't notice it. One does not feel fatter than the other. A couple of the interesting points on this gun that are available as well is you can get it with a crossbolt safety. Now this MC1 has a crossbolt safety. And lots of people are going like, that may be the stupidest idea I've ever seen in my life. Well, what I've explained to you guys before is I bicycle a lot. And as a consequence, I like carrying a gun in a bag, usually a Wilderness Tactical Safe Packer. And I carried the Mossberg MC1 with the crossbolt safety, and the safety is on. Why is that? Well, if I should have the stupidity to fall off the bicycle, or worse, be hit by a car, and I've visited many of my friends in the hospital after a car didn't notice a whole bicycle, someone is going to have to take possession of the gun that's in my bag. Now, hopefully, I got friends with me who I shoot with, and they'll go, hey, we got it. But what if it's an ambulance driver? What I don't want is an ambulance driver or somebody who is totally inexperienced with firearms, take the gun out of the bag, pull the trigger, and have it go bang. I like the crossbolt safety because it adds one more redundant safety should someone who doesn't have experience with firearms take control of the gun. So you have to make that decision on yourself. I have a very specific use for it. As I said before, the gun shoots excellently. 14+1 15-round magazine. You've got this little pinky ledge right here. And so when that goes in the gun, it's one of the things I pointed out to you on my own SIG, is all of a sudden when you put the extended magazine in the gun, what you have is a full-size gun grip. So I think Mossberg did good. I think this gun makes a lot of sense. I was talking to George Harris about it at the USCCA Expo, and he goes, it's coming out, and you're going to be impressed with the gun. And so I am. Call it $560 MSRP. It's going to come down. You typically see the Mossberg MC2s for around between $325, $350, somewhere in there. The MC1s blow $300, maybe by a buck, maybe by a nickel. But if you're still looking for the miniature 9mm, subcompact polymer frame, striker fire, double stack 9mm, give the Mossberg MC2SC a really good look because it shoots great. When we come back, we're going to talk a little about Rimfire. This week's Triggered is brought to you by Midway USA. Just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors. Volquartsen Firearms. Excellence is essential. Taurus, USA. Prepare and protect. Rock Island Armory Arms Corps, home of the STK 100. Welcome back to Triggered, and what I've got in front of me here is my Volquartsen Summit. It is a straight pull bolt action rifle, so you don't crank it up, pull it back, push it back. All you do is you push it forward. It's a really great design. You've seen it before. I've worked with it in several different platforms. The original platform it came in, a McCree's Precision platform. This is from Volquartsen. I think it's an Onyx platform that Volquartsen offers a complete rifle like this. And if you're shooting NRL 22, long range 22, I would suggest you take a good look at it for a lot of reasons. And number one is it's a bolt gun. It is not a semi-auto. I've shot NRL 22 with a 1022 base gun. But the advantage of a bolt gun over a semi is bolt guns aren't quirky about ammunition. 22 semi-autos often can be. I've been shooting these Gemtech subsonic rounds for years. I have found them to be super accurate, but I've also found them not able to run most of my 1022s. Of course, CCI has their quiet and their quiet semi-auto. The quiet semi-auto will, in fact, run a suppressed 1022. But I like the Gemtechs, and what I wanted to show you here is this is the Maven Optics RS4 scope we've talked about before. It's a 5-30. And originally I put it on my 308 test bed rifle, and as one of those best laid plans of mice and men, I put it on that rifle and planned to do it, shooting it on my own range, and the weather changed. And the weather changed into being very, very unseasonably warm, very, very unseasonably dry, and very, very windy. So I'm a little uncomfortable firing centerfire rifle rounds in a hot, dry, windy environment because fire's a big danger up here, as you guys know. So I decided to go ahead and put the Maven on this rifle, the Volquartsen, because that was where I wanted it to end up anyway, and a couple of reasons for that. It's short, still a little heavy, 35 and a half ounces, but this is like 12.8 inches. You can see how short it is, say, compared to one of the big night forces that you've seen before. As I said, it's 5-30. The parallax goes down to 15 yards, which means something shooting NRL 22. You may see a close-up target, a know your limits rack at 25 yards. And if the parallax of your scope only ratchets down to 50 yards, it's going to look a little blurry there. The other thing that I really like about this scope, and I've been out shooting it, and it's just great. I couldn't be any happier with it, is it's got 4 levels of illumination, 4 red dots and 4 green dots. Why would that be handy? Because when you're shooting this in competition, you have to get on the target quick. I've had a couple of scopes in here that were optically fine, really nice scopes, except the reticle itself didn't lend itself to competition, to being picked up quickly when you say, okay, I go down to prone, wham, where's the crosshair? So this is, I think it's got a, SHR mil-dot scope reticle in it, mil-dot reticle in it. I love it. Went out shooting it today and shooting it with the Gemtech. I sighted it in with a laser in my house, and it took like 10 minutes for my cat to stop standing in front of where the laser was because the cat wanted to play with the laser, the little green dot. But sighted it in the house and then took it outside. This is a old Tactical Solutions 22 suppressor. It's a workhorse. I've used it a lot. And with a bolt gun, the gun makes no noise. You work the bolt, and the bolt is quiet, pull a trigger, and then what you hear loudly is clang when it hits the steel. So the gun is dead quiet with the 22 suppressor on it. But what I found is that, shooting at 35, 40 yards, we can shoot one whole groups with this. And that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. The advantage is it's subsonic ammunition, right? What happens when a bullet goes supersonic? As it goes through the sound barrier, which is around a little less than 1,100 feet per second, it destabilizes slightly. It goes through the sound barriers, it drops out of the sound barrier, it destabilizes again, because it's like a plane going through a couple of bits of rough air. In an ideal world, when you're shooting a 22, At a really small target, really far away, you want 0 destabilization. So you want to shoot a subsonic round. I think these are like 900 feet per second. And it was a joy shooting these. And I think you can see kind of in some of the shooting pictures, I'm getting this bolt system down. Enjoying working with it a lot. I like this scope. I think this scope is just great. You can see you have to mount it on the high mount just because of the fat bell. It's like a 58 on it. So it's got a big bell in the front, but it is a super scope. Great glass. I have it set on green dot. My experience has been green dots are easier for me to pick up than red dots. So a lot of information there. I'm looking forward to taking this down to the range when we get done here. Finish sighting it in with the Gemtech. And next week, we'll have more new guns because it's raining guns. Hallelujah, it's raining guns. I'm Michael Bain. This is Triggered. Brought to you every week by Midway USA. Just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors, and maybe the only people on earth who have SK-22 target ammunition in stock. Get some. And you can find us on michaelbain.tv. You can find us on YouTube, well, for a while longer. And you can always find us on Rumble. So please subscribe. We will see you next week.